Well, I'm very happy to welcome back to the studio Mr. Matt Chipman. Matt is the editor-in-chief of the Green Baron Report, frequent guest on the program. We haven't talked to you in a while, though.
Yeah, it's been a few, probably been a good month since I've been
maybe
on.
even longer. I think maybe the indices were probably a few points higher back then. We've seen some pullbacks this week. What do you think's going on?
Well, there's been some weak economic numbers that have come out. There's nervousness over the government's support of our big banks. Moody's is now threatening to downgrade some of the big banks. At some point, you need to push these guys out on their own to make, to see if they can, make it in a troubling housing market. The housing market hasn't given us any good real data to work with either. Prices have continued to come down a little bit. However, interest rates have stayed down. I mean, if you can get money, it's practically free. The problem is if they're putting you through such scrutiny when you apply for loans, it's keeping a lot of people out of the debt market.
That is the biggest thing I think that is really holding up the housing market right now. Is yes, the money is very, very cheap, but most people can't qualify. I mean, I think I was looking back at 2006. The median down payment in 2006 was 4%. Now the median down payment is 22%. How many people, especially in major metropolitan areas where you've got homes, 800 to $1.5 million that represent the median, can people quote that kind of cash?
No, it's difficult. So those people who are aggressively going into houses that don't have that money, they have to revert to going for higher interest rate loans to get their property. So it's
gone from cheap, easy money to hard money.
Yeah. And there's got to be, the pendulum will swing back the other way and hopefully settle in. I hope we've learned our lessons about what not to do in the past, going forward. You're going to attract people from overseas, though, as well, that are going to see our real estate market as a true value. So I think real estate's a fantastic buy now. This is when you do want to come in. For years, I've been on the program saying I thought real estate was dramatically overvalued. Now I think is a great time to come in.
Well, we saw a lot of that go on during the 1980s. The Japanese economy was booming. A lot of Japanese investors from overseas came into the U.S. were buying a lot of our landmarks, Empire State Building, Pebble Beach Golf Course, et cetera, et cetera. And when the economy over there faltered, a lot of American investors ended up buying that stuff back from about 50 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, and some of those assets are becoming available again.
Yes.
And so it's an interesting shift. Going to where we are with support levels on the S&P, we're still dramatically above the 200-day moving average, which is where the March lows were. I think we did hit a recent low of around 1311 on the S&P, and 1306 is initial report. A lot of people are looking for 1295 as support. So there's some cautious, money managers out there that are looking at all the indicators, like housing, like what's going on with politically, and how the Fed's going to manage things going forward. You've got some concerns overseas. We had another round of concerns with debt in sovereign countries, on the problem areas that we always hear about.
Greece.
Greece being one, Italy, and of course Portugal, Spain. But we're hopefully they're going to manage that. If we get through that, it's also that weakness overseas and then weakness in the euro has strengthened the dollar a little bit, which again is and then commodities, which were so overheated, have started to come back down a little bit. I'm sure everybody's thankful to see a little bit lower gas prices, and so forth.
Well, no question. Of course, the kind of companies that you and I watch almost exclusively are the small cap companies. They pretty much led this recent Wall Street rally. There are those analysts taking a look at what's going on in the Wall Street rally and thinking maybe that the big caps can't maintain that momentum that the small caps generated. What do you think?
Look, I'm excited about some of the small caps and the micro caps. There has been some volume deterioration in the last few days, of course, when the markets have shown weakness. A lot of people have thrown stocks out, and those lower price ones, they want to let them tread water a bit, see where they're going to find support. I would be out of the big cap stocks, to be honest with you. I've always focused on the micro cap and the small cap stocks that kind of trade on their own. I think some of the big cap stocks are in for some more trouble. I think I'm not exactly positive on the markets, and I do think we're going to come down and test the 200-day on the S&P.
I don't really ever put too much emphasis on what goes on in a short business week. I mean, it always seems that in a short business week we're going to see some deterioration in equity levels. You could go back 5, 6, 7 years and see that almost exclusively. You know, we may get another big bounce next week.
We could, and this may be a fake out, you know, little dip here. A lot of people, you know, have had that opinion of sell in May and go away. Right. You always have some sluggish activity, especially in some of the small caps going into summer. Right. You know, what we focused on in our newsletter is on companies that can stand on their own behind their technology. I mean, we've come across 2 of the best companies we have ever seen in regards to drug-resistant cancers, you know, which is the kind of area that if the companies show developments like these companies have, these are the kind of stocks that'll go up 10 to 100-fold. So, you know. Well,
if people want to know about your newsletter, the Green Baron Report, how can they get more information?
Just go to thegreenbaron.com, go to any join icon, and provide us your email address, and we'll go ahead and start sending you our reports, updates, and webcast interviews.
Again, that's thegreenbaron.com. The newsletter is called The Green Baron Report. We've been talking to the editor-in-chief, Matt Chipman. Matt, it's always a blast having you on the program. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate you having me.